Hello, it's Fran Davidson from psychicandenergywork.com.au, and these are my monthly observations for June 2024. We're almost halfway through the year, and the joy of this month, even last month, has been a shift in the dynamics, I think, where March and April were quite full times energetically, spiritually, even physically for people. May started to bring relief in that, and June seems to be continuing. The first half of any chapter is often more of a winding up or challenging time. That doesn't necessarily mean negative challenge. Challenge can be adventure, pioneering, excitement, energizing, as well as, shall we say, tension creating. But the halfway point is always a time where, of course, because we're halfway through a period, we're starting to get the hang of it. We're starting to get the messages. We're starting to get a sense of what we're being asked to work with, work through, and offer on the next level. 2024 is very much about that as well. Being an 8-year, it is all about success. And yes, all right, that can be defined as what a person achieves and how they attract to themselves in life. But success is also, of course, a collective state. And at the end of the day, success really, as a universal definition, it is that moment where everything feels right. How that manifests for a person as a definition, what is success for me or for you, etc., that's going to vary depending on who we speak to. We all have different priorities, different angles, different reasons why we're here. But success as an overall seeks the harmony throughout. Therefore, it seeks a moment where everything is in balance, not only within the person, not only from and through the person, but also around them. And that's a really good point, because at the end of the day, we're collective beings, aren't we? We belong in a world, we exist in a world, and therefore within that, we are continually experiencing stuff, energies, dynamics from the outside world, be they physically evidenced or whether they are more energetic or intuitive. Egoic self in each of us, and at the end of the day, every being is part egoic. Egoic self is an acquirer, it is a collector, it is a gatherer, even when it doesn't really know it's doing it. And what I mean by that is it does these things on very conscious, overt levels, as well as very unconscious ones. And that gathering doesn't necessarily start just when we're aware of the fact we're gathering. That gathering started in previous lives. It started in previous years. It started the moment we came into being, which of course is many, 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 many years ago. Part of this year, being an 8-year, being success, with success defined as a state that is feeling right, perfect, fitting for everybody in that landscape. Part of that is requiring us to let go of all tension to the next degree. And again, this year so far has been very successful at winding people up and also helping people wind themselves up on all sorts of levels. One manifestation of that can be a mind that just can't come to quiet, or a self that just can't quite sit down and pause for too much time at all. 8 is a wound state. It's a very busy dynamic. And with that, therefore, as a chapter, it can see the individual who is experiencing it feeling more wound, more wired, more stressed, more go, go, go than usual. So mind is one place where that can play out, and even that as a statement leads us to a discussion that is about clearing the mind. And for the last couple of updates, I believe, I've outlined how to clear the mind as an energetic sphere. Mind, if it's left to its own devices, as I've said before, it can just keep going. It can be a perpetual loop of noise and remembering and visuals and movies and replays, let alone forecasts of where we've been, where we are, and what we're entertaining for next. So like every other part of us, every day we go to bed to sleep. We stop physically being for a minute on a conscious level and we reboot. So too we have the chance to reboot mind by bringing that to a zero, an inactive, a pausing state. And again, have a look at my updates for the last few months on this point. Essentially, just allow your mind to empty, however you do that. But there's another part of being that often doesn't get a whole lot of attention, and that's the aura. The aura, too, is a collecting mechanism. That's not its only purpose. And you could argue that most of us wouldn't intend for that to happen at all. But being a part of us, you bet the aura collects, it gathers energy, thoughts, feelings, collective, other beings and people specifically, let alone our own. And if we think of ourselves on that level and we just for a moment, we consider how many seconds and how many miles or kilometers or feet or whatever have we traveled since we got here physically, let alone energetically. That's a fair amount of absorbing that sponge has done. So just like mind, the aura can be rebooted. Now, of course, there's a whole lot of ways to do that. There's a whole lot of modalities that can help you achieve that. And certainly go and have a look at them. Just white lighting, just saying to the universe, hello, I know you're real, I let you in, can allow the aura to clear all the way around 360 degrees in a way that really brings benefit, not only for the person who is experiencing their aura as being overloaded or cluttered or whatever those words are, but also for everybody else in the room, because again, we're collective beings. If I release, you'll release somehow. Not because I make myself responsible for your health, but simply because, again, if I release something, if I let something move energetically, it'll move in all sorts of ways through the world around us as well. So the aura, again, it can be a bit like a sponge. It can be a bit like a piece of webbing or netting. As we travel, we just collect stuff. We help it be full by our projections on the thought and the feeling level. But also, too, things can just get lodged in there and we don't always pay enough attention. So another way to clear aura is to actually make like a bird that decides to eject all its feathers in one fell pop. Just release your aura. That might sound a little contentious, but really what we're doing in that moment, we're just releasing the cloud pattern around us as it is right now. And by doing that, we're creating a second where all of a sudden the aura is rebooted out of us and a new energetic layer forms. Just doing this can see busyness, inner chatter, and just energetic activity, accompaniment, that's probably a very good word, reduce and release quite quickly from around and within self. Another way to clear aura is to visualize screens, like silk screens, passing through the being on every level, from every angle, in a very gentle way. You can use the screens in a way that, to the degree that something's stuck, you can sort of, push and dislodge it. Yeah. But using screens on a visualizing level can also be very handy in a way that you're not finding things first. You're just allowing a screen to appear from the right and you just allow it to pass through and float off again, and then just keep allowing various screens to pop and to float through you and therefore through your aura, screening out, as in dragging with them and away from you all the things that you really don't need to be traveling with anymore. We can take this exercise beyond aura, of course, and we can also put it to body. Imagine yourself just suddenly detaching from your body, not in a negative sense. None of these exercises ever need to be done in a fearing or a negative way, judgmental way. It's just release your outside edges. Just release your costumes. Just release the you think you are. None of these mechanisms or movements are about rejecting self, any aspect of self. Because if we're doing that, we're still operating egoically. So the job is to just release, knowing that release is never throwing away something you need. And it doesn't need to be a state that devalues or dismisses or rejects anything in a negative value. Releasing is just allowing things to dislodge from our grip, just in case it's time for them to move, just in case it's time for an upgrade. And just in case by doing that, we create room for the universe to drop in on a whole new level, whether that's in the form of an aura, or whether it's in the form of guidance, or whether it's in the form of a more tangible, obvious breakthrough. So release your aura, and bear with me, release everybody else's aura, release the world's aura. Because the more we let go of everything that is outside of us, again, not because we're negative with it, but we just let go of it. The more we do it, the more we allow ourselves to really come to clarity in a moment, with no more echoes running through the being from previous moments. You know, part of this year is about busy, and therefore, on one level, it could be seen as energetic bombardment. Bombardment might be too strong a word. Again, accompaniment in some moments is probably a more fitting description. But either way, this year is about helping us through busyness come to understand what success really means and beeline for that instead. This month is also interesting because it's got 5s in it. It's a 6 month, on a number of levels. 5 is very much change. Yes, it can be the change that happens to you and around you. Yes, it can be the change that you create and pump out there. But also it is the change that you decide upon. And even that is the change, as in the decision to reboot, to allow life to reboot, by stopping for a moment, by breathing for a moment, by allowing all atoms to move for a moment, just in case they can. Just doing these things can bring more clarity, more grounding, less bombardment, and therefore a greater ability to work out what you need to do next. To even work out, what was I even thinking I needed to do next? Confirmation, verification. Rebooting is really important on those levels as well. So with those things in mind, travel well through June. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's a quickie this week or month. Thank you for joining. And clear the aura, release the aura, eject it like a puff of smoke, just being puffed out. Release it, let it go. Because often just by doing that, we can see shifts and we can see more clarity. And with that, we can get on to manifest a hell of a lot better. Take good care. All the very best to you. If you need a hand, give me a call or drop me a line via my website, psychicandenergywork.com.au. Have a lovely end to June. I'll speak to you next month. Travel well.